Thanks, Carla, for that recording. So welcome on behalf of the motion team. We're very excited that you could all join us today. We would like to open up the conversation with the menti.com. We have one question for everyone here in the room, which is, which city do you come from? So we posted the link in the chat and we can take a look into the Menti and see where does everyone that is here is joining us from. I'm gonna share my screen to show you that while we start. And as you can see, we have people from Madrid, from Bologna, from Mexico City, from Itapema, Brazil, from Utrecht, Valencia, San Pedro Cholula, Samarang, Brussels, Paraguay. So people from all around the world, Vietnam, Utrecht, Hamburg, the Kingdom of Jordan, Tlaxcala. So thank you for joining us from such diverse locations. We really look forward to having this conversation with you. So we would like to briefly just say a word about motion, what motion is about, and what we're doing here today. So what is motion? Why are we here today? Who invited you? Motion is a collaboration between TIPSI and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology Climate Knowledge and Innovation Community, EIT Climate Kick. And there are 3 partner projects from the EIT Climate Kick portfolio, 2 of which are joining us today. SUSMO, which is Sustainable Urban Shared Mobility, and Acton MBS, Adaptive Cities through Integrated Nature-Based Solutions. And we have a 3rd project, which is Saturn, System and Sustainable Approach to Virtuous Interaction of Urban and Rural Landscapes. And why do we think that motion is a project that we really want to work in? Motion stands for building a methodology and community of practice for catalyzing transformative change through systems innovation. So there are four issues and 4 characteristics about motion that we consider relevant. It's an innovation project and it's based on monitoring, evaluation, and learning. It is also an incubator that conveys practice-based knowledge and facilitates capacity building. It applies a participatory approach in which project associates and researchers work as equal partners, and the ML strategy is developed in co-creation. And it aims thus to co-create and test a methodology that will contribute to building a community of practice. So on behalf of Motion, be welcome. And why are we here today? What is this meeting about? We have 3 main objectives. First is to listen to citizens' perspectives regarding more sustainable cities and link those reflections with the learnings and behaviors that may be relevant for transformations. Second is to share what 2 motion projects, SUSMO and Acton MBS, are about, and how the 2 projects promote learning, new behaviors, and citizen engagement. And third, to build a conversation about how individual actions may relate to the 2 projects. So as most of you know, this project started with a call for audios. And our call was about one single question. What are you doing to contribute to a more sustainable cities? We were able to launch this call from a diverse locations and settings. And we really had a lot of friends and colleagues helping. We truly appreciate the help that all of you who were engaged with this did, especially thanks to ITD UPM for disseminating the call. And we just want to show you the basic results to open up the conversation and open up the reflections of what we got from the audience. So we received happily 50 audios from the 18th of October to the 12th of November. People from 11 cities responded: Milan, Modena, Bologna, Treviso, Paris, Madrid, Cáceres, and Valencia from Spain, Amsterdam and Utrecht, and Vienna. And then 31 females and 19 males responded. We have most audios were in Spanish, many in Italian, and we had one in French and 4 in English. Many people said their age, and the average age of those who mentioned it was 29 years old. So in terms of the results and about what people shared with us, we discovered that 31 out of 50 persons mentioned a topic related to mobility when answering the question. And then 16 of those people use bicycles and are happy to share that with us. 7 walk or tend to walk, and 9 mentioned public transport as a relevant issue. Then 14 participants mentioned eating less or no meat as part of their eating habits, and related that to the way to make sustainable cities and sustainable planets. 13 persons mentioned recycling as a thing that they consider important, and separating garbage. 14 persons. Then 4 persons mentioned energy and something related to saving energy. 3 persons mentioned the use of second-hand clothing and the relevance of doing that and taking advantage of what we already have produced. 4 persons mentioned having a vegetable garden. And then 4 persons mentioned working actively in something related to sustainable cities. It was food waste, environmental conscience, and mobility. So in terms of what the transformative innovation policy terms and considerations are, we discovered that there are several socio-technical systems involved: mobility, food, education, consumption, energy, and water. So we are very excited to share with you the first part of the audios to open up the conversation. We really hope that you like them. We preserve the original language, but you will see the translation on the slides. And we adjusted the speed and extracted the most relevant bits. So you will not hear everything that we received, but you will hear the most important insights. So here they go.
Vado tutti i giorni a scuola a piedi e durante il tragitto cerco di raccogliere quante più cartacce possibili e purtroppo anche le mascherine che la gente butta a terra.
Reciclar siempre. Cuando salgo a comer o a cenar, pues evitar pedir carne, o utilizo la bicicleta o voy caminando a todas partes.
Que se incorporen en los programas de estudios de manera transversal todos los valores cívicos que puedan sostener un cambio cultural para una ciudad verde.
I also try to buy locally sourced food as much as possible and avoid, when I can, single-use plastics. So I carry my own bags and I try to shop smartly in that sense.
Per rendere la mia città più verde, io suddivido la spazzatura nel modo giusto, quindi il vetro nel vetro, l'umido nell'umido e via dicendo. Cerco, ad esempio, nei mesi invernali di mantenere la temperatura in casa tra i 18 e i 20 gradi, quindi limitando l'uso del riscaldamento. Cerco anche, quando possibile, di limitare l'uso della macchina o dei mezzi pubblici che inquinano e andare a piedi o usare la bicicletta. E cerco anche di rendere il mio spazio privato, quindi la mia casa, uno spazio più verde, con un piccolo orticello, con delle piante che comunque si possono coltivare anche in contesti urbani.
Vivo en Madrid y me enteré hace poco de que la industria de la moda es una de las que más contamina. Así que empecé a comprar de segunda mano y es mucho más económico y divertido.
Desde el colegio se intenta trabajar en áreas de concienciación ecológica.
Hemos decidido ir solamente 2 días a trabajar físicamente. En casa intentamos reciclar 4 tipos de basura: plásticos, orgánicos, vidrios, papeles y cápsulas del café. También intentamos gestionar la energía de casa de una forma más eficiente. En verano, en el aire acondicionado subimos 2 graditos y en invierno, pues la calefacción la bajamos 2 para consumir menos. E intentamos poner todos los programas eco en los electrodomésticos y demás. Y bueno, la inversión más fuerte que hemos hecho últimamente es que pues, nos hemos comprado un coche híbrido, intentando mejorar nuestra huella ecológica.
Pues si reciclas las bolsas, ayudas mucho al medio ambiente.
De travailler beaucoup plus au niveau de l'électricité, surtout la nuit. C'est-à-dire on pourrait aujourd'hui imaginer d'établir des cellules photovoltaïques pour la lumière de nuit qui s'étendent et s'allument selon s'ils détectent le passage des individus, à étendre la lumière de nuit. Finalement, il me semble qu'il serait très important, imaginer la possibilité de développer un transport collectif électrique sur la rivière la Seine. Peut-être que c'est une question qui pourrait aussi nous aider à imaginer que la ville de Paris, la ville lumière, pourrait être un peu plus verte.
Cómo se está estudiando el tráfico y cómo se amplían las bicisendas. El próximo grado de bienestar en la convivencia depende mucho de nosotros, de cómo nos podemos ver con ojos más humanos entre las personas, cómo nos podemos querer un poquito más.
I need to walk or take the bicycle. I eat mostly vegetarian food, take care of my garbage, try to recycle as much as possible, reduce. I guess the hardest part is to vote for good leaders that are aware of climate change.
Pues yo tengo la terraza llena de plantas, tengo un pequeño huerto donde tengo pimientos, berenjenas, uso el autobús o el metro en vez del automóvil, separo la basura, en fin, eso es un poco lo que hago.
Consumir menos productos ganaderos para comer más productos de origen vegetal.
Me muevo en transporte público y pues reciclo. Voy en transporte público e intento reciclar todo lo que puedo.
So we hope that you liked it. This is just the first taste of the 3 parts of the compilation of audios that we will have. And now we to open up the floor, we would like to ask the SUSMO team to start with their presentations. On SUSMO, I'm very happy to introduce to you Francesco Guaraldi. He comes from the Agencia per la Energía y los Sviluppo Sostenible, AESS, and he will start with this presentation about SUSMO. So Francesco, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paulina. Can you confirm that you see my slide? Okay, thank you. So I will very briefly in this 5 minutes present the work that has been carried out during this 3-year project that was promoted by Climate Kick under the ecosystem call. So the main challenges that we identified 3 years ago was the problem of shared mobility in a medium-sized city, because we understood the potential to change how we move and live in our city, especially for promoting decarbonization, since shared mobility was already electrified, since the fact that shared mobility was better allocating the use of space and the use of the vehicle, and since was promoting a much more rich way of transport and create community. As you know, the best transport, it depends by the commuting need that we have. So especially if we can also group by the miles that we have to carry. So from 0 to 5 miles, the best means of transport would be a scooter or a bicycle, while if we have to carry from 5 to 15, it should be a ride hailing, or more than 15 should be a car sharing. So this is just to give an overview of which are the main results from these studies. I want also to introduce the other panel that unfortunately today they are not here with me, but they have worked with me, that are Senex Netherlands, that is a coordinator, Trivector in Sweden, and Cleantech in Bulgaria. The other 2 cities that have worked together with Bologna are Stockholm and Sofia. So we have worked in collaboration with Motion, identifying several pathways for creating these changes. So we understood and we created some tool, because the key scope was creating a community of expert, public servant, private car sharing and bike sharing provider that meet together, discuss about which are the needs, and try to produce some tools to promote this transition toward a more shared mobility journey, and also to evaluate it. So the main 4 tools that has been developed by this project that you are also free to read are the one related to the guidelines on policy for promoting shared mobility and procurement at city level, the guidelines on how to influence the behavior change at policy level, and the guidelines for promoting a better engagement of private sector and a better collaboration between public and private parties. And finally, a very practical tool that try to estimate the CO2 emission reduction adopting shared mobility. Unfortunately, due to the short time, I will just be able to present in a very brief way the first tool. That is the one that I have produced. So the very first point is we started from the fact that unregulated services of the very early sharing mobility system was creating a very negative impact on the users and also very impact on life cycle assessment. Therefore, there was the need to identify a minimum set of regulation and market barriers to allow collaboration to flourish, as well as to create a common vision. We also need a financial support, because we cannot just thought that the free market would work everywhere, because especially there are several constraints and several types of target users that should be protected. These are specifically the 5 steps where I've started to define our tool. So these are set the goals. So it's very important to have a plan for our city. So to define a regulatory framework, create a very practical private governance of how you want to implement the service. So you want a fully private system, or you want something that is also public managed, so that can assure some type of protection for specific vulnerable groups, and how this governance and this business model that you have set in place is feasible in the market, is marketable, or it need any type of financial subsidies. And then when you have cleared this, you can also start to identify which are the procurement model definition that has been examined. So there are several types of procurement that has been seen. And once you have the procurement in place, then there will be the discussion with the winner of this procurement on how to do the service regulation and how to monitor the result. So the very common regulation, the recommendation that came out from these studies is you need to include sharing in more policy areas that are not just transport, but this could also include new urbanization area, so many other areas that are not just related to transport, because it affects also how we build a new area of our city, how we move around in our city. Then is very much important to have it integrated in our sustainable urban mobility plan and in our parking management plan. These are the 2 key plans that should be taken into consideration. And moreover, we need to adapt a mix of mobility sharing, because it doesn't work that if one model works in one city, it doesn't mean that it works also in another. And then, of course, you needed to be a shared mobility user as well to give the example, because it needs really a behavior change. And we need to invest in public transport as well, in cycling infrastructure. So shared mobility works hand in hand with this other type of infrastructure. Is not something that substitute public transport or other type of investment, such as cycling path. And you need also to communicate properly on the benefit of using car or any other type of sharing scheme, and as well as rethinking the fiscal scheme. So, for example, trying to give some incentive for destroying the second family car and receiving in change some credit for mobility as a service. What we did, just not to be only very theoretical, so we just did not had this very good discussion with Bologna car sharing or bike sharing, but we succeeded to support an experimentation run by FIAB. So Antonella is here, is the president of FIAB, that is part of European Cycling Federation, and we have been involved in SCAP project that is running 3 pilots in Poland, Spain, and Italy. To increase from one side safety, so they have produced a safety recommendation for bicycle that you can download from the website, and the other one is promoting cargo bike in our city. So we run from the experience of City Changer cargo bike in Rimini. We exchange with Rimini, and right now we have 2 cargo bikes that are now being shared with Bologna citizens. Most of the audio you read are coming from these people that are using these 2 cargo bike. One cargo bike is a 3-wheeler, so the one that you see here on the right. And this type of cargo bike is for those who have no experience of cargo bike. So they needed to feel comfortable on using this new type of bike. And so this is e-power, so no much effort in pedaling it. And you can use it for several type of commuting, taking your babies, as well as going to, so it's now on a free rentals, and people are enjoying it, taking for one day. And another cargo bike, the one on the left, is produced by a local cargo bike manufacturer, and is a 2-wheeler, so it's for more expert cyclists, and is now being shared by a group of families that created a purchasing group that want to test it. The results are still on running. So we have more than 18 people that are registering for renting. Unfortunately, we had just 10 rental in the 2 months when we activated, because most of the people ask for the weekend, so we occupy all the weekend, but during the week it was a bit more complicated for the people to use it. And we also had cold season arrive. Anyhow, the experimentation will go also up to spring, so we will have at least 100 day for rental for the 3 bike. Meanwhile, the 2-wheelers bike is already being shared by 6 families with children that are using for commuting with their everyday need. Of course, COVID also created a problem in citizen engagement. Initially, we were supposed to work in a co-housing in Bologna. That was very keen to work on this project, but unfortunately, due to liability, so they were not willing to take the responsibility in case of theft, they renounced at the very end. So this is also what could happen working in reality with people. So you always have to bargain and really try to understand who will be your citizen hero. You're the one who want really to be a good testimonial. So this is my hint for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco. Wonderful. So this is now the time to listen to Antonella Tampellini. Antonella comes from FIAB, which is the Federazione Italiana Ambiente e Bicicleta. So dear Antonella, the floor is yours. I will share my screen with your presentation.
Hi, everybody. My name is Antonella Tampellini. I'm the president of FIAB Bologna, the local FIAB association. FIAB was in the organizational team of the Sustainable Mobility Week in Bologna. We were in Piazza Maggiore, the central square of Bologna, on Saturday, the 11th of September, promoting our activities as usual in the Mobility Week. And this year we focused on promoting the SCAP cycling safety dissemination report, as well as enrolling few guys willing to test the cargo bikes that Francesco has showed before. And especially many people were curious about cargo bike because in our country, in our cities, it is still an unusual vehicle, and so there were much curiosity. What is FIAB? FIA stands for Federazione Italiana Ambiente e Bicicletta, Italia Environment and Bicycle Federation. And what we think that bicycle, it is not only a way of transport, but it is also a way of life that is respectful for environment, nature, our cities, and above all, other people. FIAB is an interlocutor of the Ministry of the Environment, of the Ministry of the Infrastructure and Transport, and from this year also Ministry of Sustainable Mobility. Next slide. In number, FIAB has many local associations in all the country, 190, that is made of 20,000 members. And we organize many.
Oh, Antonella, I think we cannot hear you.
Right?
Perfect.
FIAB organizes many bike trips every years. You see the number that figures out how many people are involved through our activities that can be cycle holidays, bike weekends, rallies that can try to show how is beautiful to ride a bicycle through our country, our countrysides, and our regions. Next one. What has happened during this month, these years of COVID life? There have been in the last year new rules of the road code were introduced. FIAB had asked from many years these new rules of the road code. And there has been an explosion of new cycling infrastructure in big and small cities. And in less than a year, the government, the central government, the Italian government has given a very important sum of money for urban cycle path and other things. Next one. Another thing, new things, a very important thing that has been new for Italy. It has been very much incentives for bike purchase, and that has been a good positive effect. Many people has chosen the bicycle as a way of transport, and it is a good post-COVID effect. And also many tax incentives from companies that can buy cargo bikes has been made, and so that has a good incentive for using bicycle in Italy. Then last one, this is an example of a new cycling infrastructure in an Italian street this year. Thank you. All.
Thank you, Antonella. This has been truly inspiring, the Italian experience with mobility and with cycling. I'm still sharing my screen because I think if everyone's ready, we're going to listen to the second part of the audios. Here they come.
Me muevo en transporte público.
Tener un consumo responsable, siempre miro la procedencia de las frutas y verduras y siempre compro cuando son de España y pues uso mucho el transporte público.
Tengo un huerto en casa.
En mi casa estamos muy comprometidos con el medio ambiente y separamos los envases de plástico, de vidrio y de cartón.
Con mi familia reciclamos todos los días y no consumimos carne.
Y mi familia y yo reciclamos en casa.
Una forma de reducir el impacto ambiental podría ser consumir frutas y verduras de temporada.
Mi acción es que en casa reciclamos los plásticos y los orgánicos.
Dentro del IT de UPM estamos trabajando en el proyecto Food Wave. Bueno, tengo una planta de tomates en mi terraza. También soy muy pesada con mis amigos que por favor reciclen, que intenten consumir el menor número de productos procesados y que por favor reduzcan un montón el consumo de animales para una dieta sostenible. Yo soy vegetariana, entonces no como nada. No comprar ropa en las tiendas fast fashion.
Uno, reciclar. Exacto. Dos, consumimos productos del huerto de la familia. De casa. Exactamente. No hay más natural que eso. Y también eventos, por ejemplo, como el de la mina, que también tuvimos en Cáceres, pues eso también, que eso es en contra de la contaminación. Eso es más de concienciación. El llevar a cabo, obviamente, estudios de cuáles son las mejores explotaciones para poder tener una menor contaminación en las mismas.
Yo reciclo, ¿qué más hago? Como menos carne y consumo producto local.
Yo reciclo, intento comer menos carnes, o sea, disminuirlo menos a la semana, intentando concienciar a mis amigos.
Pues yo en casa separo la basura para intentar reciclar lo máximo posible e intento ir a todos los lados en transporte público. Young Innovators, Madrid.
Mi familia y yo hicimos un disfraz para mi hermano de cartón. Y el cartón es cartulina. Siempre, no importa dónde vivamos, vamos siempre andando al cole. Separamos vidrio, separamos los residuos y cuando vamos al campo solemos abrazar los árboles.
I use my bicycle a lot to travel around in the city. I have a car, but I share it with my aunt, who is also my neighbor. That makes it easy.
Immediatamente penso a una città a misura di bambino. Pur non avendo figli, me l'immagino comunque un posto in cui sia tutto più facile, tutto più verde e tutto più bello. Innanzitutto, abitando in centro, ho completamente abbandonato la macchina, l'ho venduta 10 anni fa, mi muovo solo in bici, utilizzando solo i mezzi pubblici e il treno.
Io percorro di media 15-20 km al giorno, utilizzando la bicicletta per i miei spostamenti. Una città più sostenibile credo sia raggiungibile lavorando sui trasporti. In alternativa occorre incentivare e migliorare il servizio dei mezzi pubblici.
Riguarda l'organizzazione familiare della spesa, cerchiamo di appoggiarci a dei produttori locali, facciamo parte di una CSA, insomma di una specie di cooperativa d'acquisto dove compriamo frutta e verdura locale e andiamo a fare la spesa in cargo bike una volta alla settimana.
Faccio parte di un'associazione che si chiama Salve Ciclisti e si occupa di mobilità dolce.
redistribuzione degli spazi e sostenibilità ambientale. Mi muovo principalmente in bicicletta.
Me muevo en transporte público.
Tener un consumo responsable.
So I'll stop sharing. We hope that you like these 2 bits of audios. We would now like to have a couple of minutes before starting with our next presentation. Perhaps if you had questions for our SUSMO team, for Francesco and for Antonella, or any comments on those presentations. We have some people commenting on that chat.
They've got these threatening texts. And no Hannah. And her rucksack and sneakers.
Paulina, you're on mute.
So I can answer. So Julia is asking, can you share some regulatory challenge you have faced so far? Are authorities more open to replacing cars with bikes, scooter, ride hailing? So I can answer that COVID gives local authorities a great courage. So we have seen from the presentation of Antonella, the huge investment that in Italy at least, but also in other countries has been put in place to face the problem for trying to relaunch the mobility, because of course mobility is also a key for a city to maintain a city alive. So if you want a city to have shops and so on, you need people to move and to spend time in the city. So this is very important. So there was a great, I can say, support. The problem, as I said, is that in the past there was very few collaboration between different departments at municipality level. So for the first time, at least in France, there was a unique law that was including shared mobility among different departments, so from the new urbanism up to the transportation. So this, I think, is a very good example how we need to cooperate at national level to support the shared mobility scheme. With regards the law for cargo bike, no, there is no common legislation on cargo bike. Still, for example, in Italy, it's forbidden in theory to carry adults on a cargo bike. So you could also be fined. Of course, maybe even the policemen don't know that. But yeah, there is no cargo bike and no common legislation, and it's pretty also affecting how the cycling paths are being made. So no one is respecting the need of having cycling paths at least 1 meter and 50 centimeter. And so this is determines that most of owner of cargo bike need to ride on a normal road and not on cycling paths.
Thanks, Francesco. So I think it's time for us to move on to the next motion project at Adaptive Cities through Integrated Nature-Based Solutions. So we will have an overview, a brief overview of the project by Maria de las Nieves Mestre. So Nieves, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paulina. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here with you, together with my colleagues, Manuel and Luisa. We are happy to present today another Climate Kit project, which is called Action MBS, Adaptive Cities through Nature-Based Solutions. I'm the project leader of Work Package 5, which is only one of the 5 divisions of work inside the project, which is about co-creation and collective intelligence for nature-based solutions. And well, I will first make an insight into the very concept of the nature-based solution, which is maybe familiar to all of you, but requires a little description. As you can see in the graphic here, the term nature-based concept has been increasing, especially in scientific literature, papers, books, and also regulations. But it's somehow also becoming a trending topic, and somehow it's being too generally accepted and assumed as a conventional repertoire, and sometimes also assuming that they imply a solution without making deeper insights into the real problems. So one of the objectives of a project is actually to amplify this narrow repertoire of the NATO base using unconventional actors as artists, and graphic designers, architects, urban planners, together with the more conventional users and audiences as municipal agents, universities, etc., etc. In this slide, you can see a little bit of a structure of a project in which there is together municipal agents as Lund, Madrid, Valladolid, or Tirana, academics as the Polytechnical University of Madrid that we all work for, Wageningen University or TU Delft, which is the project lead of a project. Also climate change consultancies as Deltares, iCatalyst or Resilience Brokers, and non-governmental organizations as the GIB Foundation. In here, the project is presented as it was presented on the initial program, as a clearly structured, silo-busting, department-based project in which everyone is in charge of a certain thing. And from the beginning, we have seen ourselves as a transversal work package, together with the actual work of motion, trying to find collective and transversal inertias inside of the projects, and finding actually from a more theoretical point of view, transversal outputs within the different work packages. In terms of the actual position of our project, this is more or less what we have produced in the 3 years of a project. During the first year, we had to produce a handbook on collective intelligence and co-creation for nature-based solutions. So we made this academic search, also relating to existing funded projects in the field, which are many, by the way. And then we decided to use real test beds, real pilots, together with Madrid municipality, and also working with external agents. In the particular case of the Cyborg Garden, which is one of the first pilots, we were working with Matadero Madrid, which is a contemporary art center, in order to explode, in order to drive these different co-creation strategies and to make the maximum use of these initiatives. So we have a number of outputs, as you can see here, and deliverables that I will try to not focus on the more kind of theoretical part. This is the handbook that we produced. So the presentation will be today a little bit on the description of these 3 pilots, and then Manuel will enlighten a little bit more on the part of the co-creation and the different approaches we had with different collectives on the field of the nature-based. So as you can see here, the 3 pilots are organized in terms of a scale. We had a first pilot based on a small garden, a cyber garden. Then another one, which is covering part of a quarter of a city, which is the Usera Pathways, and another one, which is actually more ambitious, which is a metropolitan forest, which is currently under planning, under regulatory planification. And this shows a little bit, in one hand, on your left hand, how we envision the relationship among us, the university, with Madrid municipality and alternative agents as designers and social media, and also a little bit of the co-creative process loop in which the different pilots are built together. Well, the first project is actually focusing on one of the main issues that Madrid has in terms of climate change, which is the heat island. It's not, of course, the only one suffering it, but in our case, it's one of the problems that is causing most social and environmental effects in the city. But on the other hand, Madrid is also has a great tradition on gardening and tree planting. It actually has, before Filomena, it had almost 6 million trees. So it makes it the 4th most wooded city in the world. So taking these two facts into account, the cyber garden was envisioned to promote a different kind of garden, a more resilient garden, and it was designed together with a number of artists and design students from different schools of the city in order to find novel prototypes, but also novel narratives to find alternative ways to combat climate change. This is a little bit of the working plan, in which the student workshops and the prototyping and the exhibition that was held at the end are clearly presented here. And this is a little bit of the engineering that was put in place to work in these different works. The theory here is Paula Nishijima Game of Storms, which is actually taking the hardware from natural communities as a group of insects, and the way in which this distributed intelligence operates in nature. And here you have some of the prototypes, which are apart from inspiring in terms of the imaginary they are promoting, also mobilizing novel narratives, which are not that much dependent on design or on the implementation part, but also on the social engagement, novel ways to adapt to climate change. The second pilot is, as I said, more a district scale one. It's actually connecting two important parks in the district of Usera, which is in the south skirts of the city. And the full strategy was developed in deep collaboration with the local citizens and citizen organizations. In this case, the heat island effects are considered both on social and health parameters, using the pedestrian continuity and the ecological continuity as a design parameter. Here you have some of the inputs from the project, and then what we consider, which is more interesting in terms of the output for the Acton MBS for the overall context, is this kind of theory of change, but also this kind of strategy which is exportable and is being used in other projects for the municipality of Madrid. The third one, in which we actually devoted more time and more effort, which is this metropolitan forest. Apart from connecting the city of Madrid with the city of Tirana, which is also part of the Acton MBS project in Lightening Life, in what we consider a peer-to-peer learning among cities, which normally doesn't occur that naturally, is that we procured to have a debriefing. So like a reverse engineering of the actual briefing for the competition that the municipality was opening for the practitioners. So we provoked a dialogue, a very proactive dialogue among a number of participants. It was divided in a number of disciplinary tables, multidisciplinary tables, so in which there were a number of ecologists, policymakers, urban planners, architects, designers, reflecting on the actual narrative and the decidable narratives on this novel forest. Apart from these workshops, which was actually very successful, gathering more than 650 participants, we decided to produce an illustrated guide, a sort of unofficial guide for the participants, which was in the form of this participatory workshop guide, the illustrated guide, which was kind of highlighting the main inputs that occurred after the workshops, and that even if not considered officially by the municipality, were enormously beneficial for the applicants in order to tackle the ambitious headings of the project. And yeah, in all, this is more or less a reflection on the three pilots, together with motion reflection, which has been running parallel to us, and that we consider actually very important for us. I mean, the full activity of motion for us has been structuring and really enlightening. And well, I wouldn't dedicate much time on this because we are running out of time, but I will leave Manuel the floor to explain a little bit more on this collaborative participatory processes.
Thank you, Nieves. Through these 3 years of the Acton MBS project, we have created a connecting tissue initiating this exploration through the consolidated groups, first of all, and or collectives. For example, the Cyber Garden, as Nieves mentioned, mainly brought together 4 clusters of stakeholders: the UPN researchers community, city council, students, and artists. The approach to citizen was established through the artistic international exhibition called Ecovisionarios. And in the second moment, this work network was able to expand through the replication. This is slide, please. The replication of the previous model and institutional reinforcement through the interdepartmental group for the ideation, co-creation, and implementation of the Itinerarios Habitables project. And in this case, the citizen perspective was developed through workshops and street work with the district boards, which allow us to get closer to the local reality. And Nieves, please, the previous slide. Finally, we unlock some regions with collaboratively building a concept of a forest for the Metropolitan Forest of Madrid, from which to make visible the environment, social, and economic benefits for the city, with all its potential to intervene, in a landscape from identity, ecology, health, or economy. And as Nieves mentioned too, for today's new views were opened, such as a positive narrative about the nature in the city, the benefits of the nature as a protector of health and the biodiversity, and a great opportunity for new economies in green jobs. Next slide. Yes, next slide. Perfect. While the Acton MBS project is finishing this year, we think that it has strengthened its scope and builds continuity through various connected projects and initiatives from the Madrid Deep Demonstration Experimentation Portfolio, and this slide represents some of them. Next slide, please. This allows us to empower, replicate, and scale the impact through a greater approach from the citizen's perspective. And the communication campaign that we have carried out with the support of the Motion Project allow us to have a first map of citizen initiatives that build a collective narrative about potential entry points to connect existing and potential actions and aligning them with the ambition of our cities, such as the sustainability and decarbonization. And thank you.
No te oímos, Paulina.
Thank you, Manu and Nieves. This has been wonderful. So why don't we listen to a third part of the compilation before having questions and comments on your presentations to wrap a little bit up. So if everyone's ready, this is the time for our third part of the compilation of audios. I will now share my screen so that you can see the translation. So just bear with me. Here we go.
Lavoro a un progetto che gestisce una, anzi 2 velostazioni in città, ma anche nel mio tempo libero mi occupo comunque di questi temi attraverso l'associazionismo e il volontariato. Cerco di usare unicamente la bici per i miei spostamenti quotidiani, di mangiare biologico a chilometro zero.
Io favorisco la mobilità sostenibile in quanto ho demolito la macchina apposta perché non mi serviva più. Utilizzo solo la bicicletta sia per muovermi nel contesto di dopo lavoro,
A Bologna mi muovo in città principalmente in bici e a piedi. Vorrei una città più sicura e meno caotica.
Vado in bicicletta e andrò sempre in bicicletta perché è il modo di muoversi più bello che ci sia. Neanche a piedi è così bello, che ho già da 7-8 anni e da allora pian pianino andare in bicicletta con la pedalata assistita.
What I do for my city is riding home by bike and taking my daughter to school by bike every day.
Ogni giorno per la mia città è muovermi attraverso mezzi sostenibili come bicicletta e monopattino.
E quello che faccio tutti i giorni per essere più ecosostenibile è muovermi in bicicletta, tenere un mio orto personale tra gli orti urbani in modo da avere fruttate e verdura a chilometro zero e cerco di praticare per quanto possibile la cucina senza rifiuti, la cucina circolare.
Utilizar el transporte público todos los días y llevar una dieta vegetariana que reduce tu impacto medioambiental, tu huella hídrica, al igual que tu huella de carbono y por supuesto contribuyes a que se frene el sufrimiento y la violencia contra los animales.
El transporte público, podemos contar tanto con autobuses, cercanías y metros que pasan cada poco tiempo y que te permiten desplazarte a lo largo de toda la ciudad, no solo por ocio, sino también por trabajo, de una forma pues bastante rápida, bastante asequible. También cada vez se ha implementado el buscar un Madrid verde, entonces cada vez están creando más sitios con naturaleza, más parques.
La instalación de varios puntos de recarga para coches eléctricos para fomentar ese tipo de transporte que contamina mucho menos. También una mejora y una ampliación de la red ciclista, además de una gran gestión de depuración de las aguas, ya que se ha conseguido depurar un 100% de las aguas residuales.
En Madrid el transporte público funciona muy bien. Está el metro, el autobús, la bicicleta. Por ejemplo, en la Sierra de Guadarrama van a prohibir el acceder a la sierra utilizando coches o cualquier otro transporte que contamine. Solo van a permitir ir caminando para hacer senderismo o ir en bicicleta.
Camino a la escuela con mis hijas para tratar de reducir el uso del automóvil. Reciclo la basura como toca. En la escuela todos los miércoles no se puede mandar lunch con cosas que generen basura y yo intento hacer eso de lunes a viernes.
Para no contaminar, yo no tiro las cosas a la calle, las tiro a la basura. Adiós.
So I think it's time for me to stop sharing and to open up the floor for comments, questions, reflections about citizen engagement and about what we have heard from the audience on the two presentations today. So questions, comments, last reflections. Maybe our guests want to say something about the audios.
Can I just, the soul questioning people people out in the streets is valuable, I think, because they make them, we reflect and we actually think about what we're doing, not only do we do it. So that was very valuable, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have some comments in the chat. Concheta says that this is very informative and inspiring, a lot of action around that should be amplified to inspire and motivate as many as people possible. So thank you. We really appreciate this. Was only possible because people wanted to share with us what they were doing. So we truly appreciate the audios. I think Kostas, you have your hand up, please.
Yes. Hello from the island of Corfu, Greece, where we are definitely in need of such great projects as we were presented here. Currently, not much is done for sustainable mobility. I think we're very much behind and we see growing problems, but I think all the projects are very inspiring. I would love to receive some presentations if possible, so to be able to think which of those projects and practices could be done here perhaps at some point in the future. And mainly I wanted to say that the audios were indeed very inspiring, and they gave good ideas on what motivates people. And it made me think that maybe in places like ours where there is no action currently, if you put forward such genuine comments from people, they can motivate others and can perhaps help to start a cycle of action. So thank you very much for all those.
Thank you, Kostas, for sharing. We had some questions in the chat and some comments. Thanks for your comments. Teresa was asking us if we were going to go back to these people with an end product of their contributions. And yes, we are. That's part of the things that we are meant to do. We're happy to share not only the audios, but the results. And also, if depending if our guests want to, of course, the presentation could be also useful. Shall we do a last round of comments, questions? Interactions between the Acton MBS and SUSMO team, maybe? Luisa, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, maybe we can think about it to make a relation between the two projects, because will be very complementary between the two projects. Yeah. We are going to think about it.
Yes, because there are a lot of entry points to go ahead with sustainable cities. So in our case, well, Luisa and I work together in the Madrid demonstration project too. So we are working in that portfolio that is integrated by a lot of leverage of change and sectorial pathways. So it will be very interesting to if we work together and share and transfer our knowledge.
Wonderful, Manu. I don't know, Francesco, Antonella, do you want to say something?
Yes, sure. No, I think the audio were very inspiring and really gave a very a clear idea that people now are becoming aware. And I think the main result of our project is also to create this citizen awareness about their decision, their daily life way to live and to act. So for sure, this common, try to merge our activities of these two projects that look quite far from each other could have a common root on creation of this common awareness, always more spread, because if a person is aware about why is doing something, is doing it with a more activism and is capable also to promote to other, creating a very virtual cycle. So thank you also for this very inspiring audios that we have read and listened today.
Thanks, Francesco. So we have one question from Teresa, says that if we're going to have audios from do we have audios from local government authorities? And we don't. Maybe that's the next step, an interesting thing to think about later on. I don't know if Antonella, do you want to add something, or someone from the audience?
And thank you for the opportunity of this meeting, and I think that people maybe are much more ready to change their life that we think, so we have to go on with our actions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Antonella, for sharing. So any last comments or questions for the audience, reflections, learnings from the citizen engagement issues? I think it's time for us perhaps to go. We're a bit late. So to say goodbye, I would like you to go to just one last couple of seconds to go to our mentee again and to say goodbye in one word. What comes to your mind when you think about sustainability? I will share my screen for a couple of minutes and then leave you with that. So thank you very much for being here with us. This has been truly insightful, and we hope this is the beginning of a lot more conversations and work on this. So we have respect, health, happiness, solidarity, justice, community, empathy, clean cities, less flying, a healthy planet, green, huerta, life, fairness, people in the center, equilibrio, balance, recycling, happiness, avocados. Change, love. So thanks, everyone. This has been truly inspiring. See you next time. Have a lovely time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paulina.
Nice evening and weekend.
Thank you,
Ciao.
Paulina.
Thank you, Paulina. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.